Ready to rock and roll. Should be. Oh.
How are you, Megan?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay.
You've been here assuring me that you would be here.
Oh, yeah. There's no way. Yeah.
It's like, no, he'll be here.
I mean, if you want me here, like
No,
early,
no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no, it's absolutely fine. I just,
Okay. I know sometimes I would come early to help Laura, but that was when Laura didn't have like an assistant.
right, yeah. And I'm
Right.
working Megan, so
Right,
yeah.
But if you ever need me to, let me know. No problem.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Yep.
There may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
Chaotic.
Yes.
It was a bit chaotic, but it's all right.
We are good to go. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the June 8th, 2023 meeting of the Fairfax County Architectural Review Board to order. First things first, to conduct this meeting with some members participating remotely, the ARB needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. First, verification that for each member participating remotely, the remote participant's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate value for the meeting room from their location with the remote person participating reports with their policy. Board member Obrey, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, and I am calling from. I'm calling from I'm at my home in Alexandria, Virginia.
Michelle, can you hear us speak?
Can you hear me?
What happened?
Can you hear me?
Ask her if she's muted.
No, I don't think she's muted.
No,
Oh, there she is.
There you are.
I have unmuted.
Okay, we
There
hear
you
you
go.
now.
You're good. We can hear you now.
me? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right. I am Michelle Obrey, and I am calling in from my home, participating remotely this evening because of a medical condition, and I appreciate the chair's approving my request to participate remotely. So I will raise my hand or click on unmute when I would like to add something to the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, and do I hear a motion that the member's voice may be adequately heard and that their remote participation comports with our remote participation policy? So moved by Ms. Murray. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Moore. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Notification of the meeting recording. This meeting is being recorded and the recording will be posted online within 10 days. And as our tradition, we start every meeting by reading our statement of purpose and intent of historic overlay districts. And this evening, Ms. Murray has kindly agreed to read it.
Historic overlay districts are created for the purpose of promoting the general welfare, education, economic prosperity, and recreational pleasures of the public. The perpetuation of those general areas of individual structures and premises that have been officially designated by the Board of Supervisors as having historical, cultural, architectural, or archaeological significance. Regulations within such premises are intended to protect against destruction or encroachment upon such areas, structures, and premises. Encourage uses which will lead to the continuance, conservation, and improvement in a manner appropriate to the preservation of the cultural, social, economic, political, architectural, or archaeological heritage of the county. Recreation and environmental influences adverse to such purposes, and to ensure that new structures and uses in such districts will be in keeping with the character to be preserved and enhanced.
All right, thank you, Ms. Murray. Thank you to all our applicants who are here for a workshop. I remind everybody to please try to limit your presentation to 8 minutes for our first submission and to 3 minutes for a resubmission. And that's just your presentation. That won't include all the times that board members may have questions and going back and forth with you. The next thing we need to do is to approve the agenda. And do I have a motion from anybody on the board to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the agenda as presented.
Mr. Burns, thank you. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Moore. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we have an agenda. Denise, do we have any guests to introduce this evening?
I do not believe so.
All right, thank you. We have no consent calendar items, and we have no items for action. And so we will move into our items for workshop. Our first item for workshop is ARB 23 CRM 01WS Colvin Run Mill Store, ADA, located at 10017 Colvin Run Road in Great Falls. The proposal is to replace the existing porch and ramps at the Colvin Run Mill Store for ADA compliance, replace the existing path to the barn blacksmith shop and Miller's house, and to create an ADA compliant gathering area with drinking fountain. This is located in the Colvin Run District.
Thank you. My name is Debbie Robinson with SWSG and EZ Analysis Project Architect.
Debbie, could I get you to raise the mic just a bit so we can catch your voice? Thank you.
Okay. Well, you can go to the first slide, please. This is the Cockrell store, which is now called the General Store Colvin Run Mill. It was relocated to the park somewhere around 1973-74. As you can see, the wood porch was built touching the soil in some of the areas. That was an original condition that was brought over. Next slide, please. The store used to be across the street from the mill. That's it in the background. This is the 1937 aerial view. You can see Colvin Run Road, and also there's a driveway entrance coming off of the road past the Miller's house. The store was relocated right on top of this driveway entrance. All of the structures except the Miller's house, which is down in the lower right corner, are no longer there. This is the 2022 aerial view. Here you can see our area of work. You can see the parking lot, and you might be able to see a curving path coming from the parking lot to the Red Roof General Store. This is the egress from the parking lot. You have to cross the store porch and then come down into that larger area, which is what we're calling the gathering area that leads in front of the barn/blacksmith shop. Our scope of work is fourfold. Replace the existing store porch and the ramp with ADA compliant porch and ramp. Replace the deteriorated chip seal trail that goes to the Miller's house and past the blacksmith shop. Provide an ADA compliant gathering area with benches, and to replace the existing drinking fountain with a new drinking fountain and bottle filler in a new location. In this view of the store, you can see where the rim board down at the bottom of the porch, you might be able to see it, but it's been exposed to wet soil. It has rotted. Also, existing condition, the ramps don't meet the accessibility requirements due to slope, lack of handrails that you can grab, insufficient number of handrails, and the height of the guardrail is too low. There's also a mini ramp on the porch, and there's a better picture of it later, going up into the store. It's currently a bit of a trip hazard. Something to note, there's a second ramp going up to the restrooms, which are in the back of the building, and there's about a 1-foot gap between the building and that ramp. And the drinking fountain is on the other side of that ramp, hidden back there. Our proposed project would keep the existing porch posts and porch roofs. The deck porching would be constructed about 2 inches higher to eliminate the need for the mini ramp. And we would need to have some kind of little swale to get the required separation between the ground and the porch in that area. There's room, it's really built up to the porch, but you can see on the side that as you get closer to the building, you can see how the grade drops off and there's room underneath the porch. Next slide, please. Here you can see there's a concrete paver path and it has a trench drain in it closer to the porch because we need to raise the porch a couple of inches. This portion of the path needs to be reworked so that we get the proper slopes. This is just another view of the porch where you can see that little mini ramp right in front of the door. This shows the elevation with one of the restrooms, but that's the ramp that goes up. And you can see the ground kind of slopes a little bit away towards the back, and so it gets a little higher back there. Next slide. And this is the isometric showing some of the rear and side. Because of the height back here, it necessitates having a guardrail, and that guardrail is currently not tall enough to meet code. So this is what we're calling the gathering area. The park, as you probably know, is popular with school groups. And so when you go there, you often will see a couple of school buses in the parking lot. So this project includes making an accessible gathering area where the groups can meet. So all the kids go to the gathering area. Slide. Showing another view towards the blacksmith shop. Currently, as you can see in this photo, there's a chip seal asphalt trail that leads to the barn / blacksmith shop. The gravel on the top has been eroded or scraped off, so it's getting down to asphalt. The larger area is currently pea gravel, which is not ADA compliant. You can see a row of stones here. Just beyond in the grass area, close to us, is it's fairly level for a little while, and then it drops down. The hill drops down to the road. Next slide, please. This is just another picture of the porch where you can see the little mini ramp, and I just wanted to point out the porch columns or the posts have these enclosures around them. I just wanted to mention those. I'm going to be talking about those later. Next slide. Our demolition plan. Our demolition includes the area of the concrete pavers where we need to adjust the slope, the porch deck, and the ramps and the guardrail around the rear of the building because we need to correct that height. Slide. This is our proposed layout. We're proposing that the porch would wrap around the building at the same elevation and that you would just have the ramp coming off the front of the building. The ramp has to be longer because the original slope was too steep. The handrail requirements, because this is on the egress path, you have to have the handrails where you can grab on either side of you. The width is something that we need due to all of the school children coming all at once. They just need that width at the park to be able to get all of the kids into the park. Because of the additional handrails, we positioned the ramp over to the side of the building so that we weren't impacting so much the front facade of the store. And there is a center handrail. The two outside handrails have pickets, but the center one doesn't. You can't really tell that from the plans as they are now. Next. So if you look at the south elevation, because we're raising the porch, we're proposing reconstructing the trim around the porch columns so that we meet the height, the same height as the guardrail. We are proposing a bowl-shaped handrail that you can grasp that's shown in the detail 6. We're also proposing installing 3 benches in the gathering area, and I'll show cuts or pictures of those. But in detail 7, we're somehow, depending on what our pavement material is, we're going to anchor the benches down. Next slide. So we've shared in the packet 2 options for the gathering area. This one kind of more follows the existing, just a little slightly the existing outline of the gathering area. And we have it divided into 2 different pavement types. There's a darker hatched area for the gathering area, and then the path is a different lighter hatch. And then there's a dashed line on there, and that represents the area that is currently gravel, and we would just leave that gravel. The next slide is very similar. It's just a little bit more curvilinear and a little bit smaller area. Next. So you're hoping to get some input on the pavement materials. We're thinking that the chip seal or the asphalt, we would just replace that in kind. Just replace it with the chip seal. Not sure about the concrete with the exposed aggregate, if that would be acceptable in a historic area. I would mention that this is in the entrance area of the park, not so much near the interpretive area down by the miller's house. So I don't know if that would influence you any. The materials have a kind of similar look, so that we had some concerns about massing and it looking like a very large area if it's one pavement. So any suggestions you might have on that? Next slide. The proposed benches include 1 bench with the back and armrest for ADA compliance, and then the other 2 benches you could sit in either direction, facing either way, because they do sometimes have programs down the hill. The site interprets the Miller House from the Victorian period, and the general store was likely built in the 1890s. So the proposed benches were selected, to kind of fit with that interpretive period. And then there was also the proposed drinking fountain with a bottle filler.
Thank you very much. Since it's a workshop session, we don't see public comments from the public, but I'll look to my fellow board members to see if they have any.
The pavement itself, is that just for pedestrian only? Will it be vehicular also?
Pavement only, except that there's the road continues as a gravel, like 5770 gravel going down the hill to the mill, and so there may be some park that might occasionally go over the trail that crosses that.
Gotcha. So those pictures right there, again, is that for all? So those types of pavements, is that just for pedestrian?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. We've got a lot of different pavements. So it depends on cost. Another wild card in here. Would you ever use flexi pavement? That you can get aggregate like that if the rubberized surface is pervious. Or I don't have to do any storm management here. If you don't, do you have to do storm management? Okay. No. Okay. But it's something else to consider. It is friendly for tree roots, but do you have trees close by this pathway or anything like that? Existing trees? Large trees or some sorts that roots may be compromised by putting in the concrete or anything like that?
Perhaps just at the very edge of the drip line.
Okay, just as a suggestion, Capital Flexi Pay is a company that does all the streets and District of Columbia, securities and so forth, the professional sidewalks. It is durable enough to drive a truck over occasionally. It's probably on the same cost, but they're supposed to aggregate concrete. It has so it is porous, so therefore water won't shoot across it. Just can't tell that it rains. It's actually very good. It's a rubberized type surface. When you walk under, it's like cushions, so it's not like a playground. It's not real hard either, but it is ADA compliant as well. But we don't need to add anything, or you can run it down, which is great. But Project Capital Flexi Pay, they're all these words to do all the National Park Service and so forth for that.
They have 10.
Excuse me?
They have 13.
I believe so. They're aggregate colors, yes. I think you have 6 to 7, 8 colors, something like that. So and they can also custom blend things, they can blend, but just as an option. The benches themselves, when I saw, one was back on the back list. They're 2 different design styles. One looks a little more flimsier. The top one looks a little flimsy compared to, it's not a, I would say it's a medium grade type quality bench from a cost standpoint wise, as well as quality wise. We may want to look into, I don't know if the board had any problem, but using maybe a slightly contemporary bench, but it still has the same lines as the bottom one there. There's one called, it's called the Guernsey, Ginsery. It's very, I think it's landscape forms, which is a manufacturer. So landscape forms that forms the surfaces. But there's 2 different companies that make outdoor furniture. They have the teak. They also have synthetic. They also have wood slats. Also, Akuba type wood too as well. Other things. And then the drinking fountain itself. That's the way I character. I think there's a lot of ones out there. Just get something with similar lines. That even just like it's a black metal or something like that. That looks like it's a resin kind of thing. I think you could probably look for something that goes more in pattern with the benches. These companies, forms and surfaces, and landscape forms do have these same things that kind of go with their furnishing. What do you say?
Yeah, I like the fact that you push the ramps over to the base. That subtracts from. And instead of having a second ramp for the restrooms, you're taking porch elevation and having a little raised path with that. But I just want to make sure that saves you having that.
Actually, the same elevation.
Colors.
Existing.
And just there's a whole lot of railing now wrapping around the building. So I'm concerned that the building will still be the primary. So it looks there like it's unpainted wood and then the slats are painted.
It's the brown paint, the reddish brown.
But if it's hard to tell, but only concern I would have would be make sure that the building remains the primary element. The future brightly painted and fresh doesn't diminish the building.
Is there an objection or you don't want to see any of the paintings? If those are acceptable? We'll look into yours.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if any of the others are ruled out.
I think the sort of aggregate concrete is more durable over the long run. This gravel, I think people slip on it, especially those something else.
The site is also track.
Gravel, so forth. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Move on to our second workshop session, which is KRV 23-HOL-19WS 7211 Rebecca Addition located at 7211 Rebecca Drive in Alexandria. The proposal is for a new addition consisting of a bathroom, closet, and laundry for age-in-place plan. Project includes the extension of an existing deck into the front yard setback. Yes, Mr.
I'm
Burnham.
personal friends with the applicant,
Yes, sir.
and so I would.
Understood. Yes, sir.
You don't have to give her speech. You have to give her speech.
I have to be others.
It's just delayed.
Good evening. My name is John Nolan. I'm also here on behalf of my wife, Anna Barber. We're the homeowners at 7211 Rebecca Drive. Application packet. I uploaded my special permit application package. The actual graphics and things we're looking at are on page 12.
Oh, yeah, we weren't sure. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I just wanted to upload one document.
That one?
There you go.
Okay.
That's the plat of the property. So Rebecca Drive is at the bottom. And pictures will follow. It's not sort of that order, but it's the special permit. Rebecca Drive, Glasgow Road is on the left side of the frame, but that's also the side of the house. So if you want to talk about Glasgow side, there is essentially north, not sheet north, but true. That's Rebecca Drive on the bottom. Our driveway comes off of Rebecca Drive. You see it goes up to the entrance. There is on sort of the lower right-hand side of the square. That's the main. There's an existing deck in the middle on the north side of the house. That sort of square box in the yard is our garden. I just wanted to orient you to the house. Just part of the package is the Fairfax County tax map. That's 7211 Rebecca Drive. The center of that circle, Rebecca Drive is sort of running north and south towards 1 o'clock. And this is an aerial view of the site. It's very wooded, so you'll see in photos too that the houses are fairly secluded from each other. There's not a lot of direct vision between the houses around our house. Pretty heavily wooded. Not a lot of These are photographs of the house as it is now. The top left-hand corner is the Rebecca Drive photo taken from right in front of the house. The driveway is to the right. And that leads around to the next image. The upper right is the entrance to the house. And go to the right-hand side of what you see on the top of that image. When you get to that side of the house, that's the main entrance on the plan. And the bottom left-hand image is the opposite side of the house, the Glasgow Road or north side of the house. That is where we're proposing our addition. The solid block on the left-hand side of the home is where our bedroom is, and that's where we're proposing this bathroom, closet, and laundry addition. As well as the existing deck you can see there. The original Goodman deck extended all the way to the front corner of the property. When we first bought the property, the deck was removed. The Goodman deck was removed by the bank, so there was no deck. We took possession of the house, and our insurance company gave us a really limited time to get a deck up, or they were going to drop our policy because we had a door that basically stepped out like 6 or 7 feet. When we tried to put the deck back where it belonged, the county realized it's now in the zoning that wasn't established when the house was built in the 50s. But the corner of the deck is in the setback, requiring the special permit that we're also applying for to get the deck where it belonged. We didn't have that kind of time to wait for the special permit. So we worked with the county staff at the time and scooted the deck towards the center. That took that front corner out of the setback and made it basically an addition. Satisfied our insurance company. The bottom right-hand side is the back side of the house. It's our bedroom is on the two bays on the right-hand side, and then the left-hand side is sort of a guest room and office. On the right-hand side of that, lower right-hand image. This is a 3D model. Wanted to take you through a plan first, but this is the organization. As you can see there, so the top image is sort of an aerial view looking down from the north. So the addition's on the north side of the house, and because it is a bathroom, closet, and laundry room addition, it's fairly solid. But we put it in a place where Goodman actually had a solid wall in the house. So our real approach was taking that Goodman solid wall and extruding it out, kind of lining it up with the deck, and then we do extend in the back a little bit because to make the space work, we needed a few more feet. And then because when we do this addition, it'll remove the existing stair, which steps basically right into where the addition will be. So we internalize the stair on the deck, which you'll see in the plan. And then to gain some of that square footage back that we're losing with internalizing the stair, and to restore the deck to its original location, we want to pull that deck all the way to the front corner, even with the Rebecca side there. So that's, you're looking at the combined project. There's two sort of items that are under review. The extension of the deck into the front yard setback, and then the addition itself. The extension of the deck requires a special permit, and all of it requires ARB approval. Next slide, please. This is the proposed plat that shows where the addition will be. It's in the upper left-hand corner of the house, which is sort of the northeast corner of the house. This also shows how the stair is internalized between the new addition and the extended deck. And that shows the deck extended to the front side of the house. Next slide. Here's the plan, and this is sort of the rationale behind why we're doing what we're doing. You see here we only have one bedroom, so or one bathroom. So this we're two adults, and anytime we have anybody visiting, having only one bathroom, when you have adult guests and children, et cetera, for holidays, it's a nightmare. So one of our main priorities is getting a second bathroom in the house, and then primary or master. A lot of these houses included. We wanted to add that. The other reason we're doing this is we're moving our laundry upstairs. Our laundry is in the basement, and we've decided we want to stay here. So we want to make this sort of an age-in-place house. We want to bring the laundry up from downstairs and into this space that we're at. Sort of see in the lower left-hand corner, that's the original Goodman stair that goes down. It's got a winder at the top and a winder at the bottom, which is cool now, but in 20 years when I'm in my 70s, I don't want to do that. I'm doing laundry. So next is your elevations, left-hand side. That's the Rebecca view on the top left-hand of the sheet, showing the addition there, the deck brought forward. That window there, that's the laundry room side. If you went back to the plan, but that window opens into the laundry room. On the top right-hand side, we're also proposing to revise the front entrance. Right now, as you see in the photos on the bottom is the existing. It's just a set of straight steps that went up into the front. In the later image, you'll see the photos of the house when it was originally done. There was a deck in front of the front door and a ramp that went to the back. The ramp was too steep, but we want to sort of bring that same design inspiration into our solution. We want to put the deck back in front, and then we're going to do sort of large, like lily pad steps down in place of the ramp that will get you back down to the sidewalk that you originally intended to enter. So there's the top left-hand corner, so it's before or existing on the bottom, proposed at the top. See on the top, that's the same solid panel that's in the bottom hand left. It's just pulled forward to add the space, but we did stretch it towards the rear, about 5 feet from the rear face. So the panel grows a little bit towards the left-hand sheet, but it's extruded and pulled straight towards us. On the right-hand side, it's essentially, it's not as solid from the rear view. That's a window that's would be in between the shower and the toilet room, so the bathroom will have some good light. Also, I'll note that on the top of the addition is basically it's a light well monitor, and that's what's in a lot of the center of these houses, the flat roof houses. They have like a pop-up center portion that housed an original exhaust fan, whole house exhaust fan, and then they had windows on the sides that would bring light into the center of the house. We still have ours, and we want to do something similar. And it has lights that are right into the bathroom. It's pretty amazing that has big windows that look ahead in the back. We want to do something similar in our addition, have that same light well monitor over the center of the bathroom so we get the same intended feeling of the light in the bathroom. The last one. I found on Hill's book that actually showed the deck where it was originally designed. Second half for us in the next year. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. The board, questions or comments?
It's nice, looks reasonable. The design professionals all over it, but it seems like a very modest scope. I guess the addition might be 3 feet, or are you planning on extending and moving
setback, it's on the plan. It actually extends just under 5 feet. It's like 4 feet and 9 inches into the actual setback. Part of the requirements for the special permit stamping, the percentage you can project in. So it's all really clear on that. I think we project 18% setback by the county. It cuts off 4.5 feet of the corner. So if you look down on the proposed plan on the flat sheet, there's a line that cuts across the corner. It's like a 4-foot isosceles. You can see right there, I shaded it. That's that left-hand side. That deck, that's.
Works for me, but it might.
By the way, and that's one of the things. It's a modest addition. It's like you could, but you chose the addition under the circumstances because it was pretty window. I could restore the deck to what it once was. Positive.
Yeah, I do. I somehow this what I uploaded was different than what I uploaded from my special permit, but I have a sheet that has photos from the Hall and Hills book that show the existing deck or the original deck and the original front entrance. And then it's on food actually in the second.
In terms of the decking details,
Similar to what this
is being drawn from. Inspiration from the original, or is it?
No, the original deck was
Probably, I'm assuming not to code.
not to code. But the original deck did have horizontal bars that made up. They're like 30 inches. Two horizontal, 2 by 18 inches. 18 inches. So we wanted to keep it horizontal. This is a deck that went through the Hall and Hills DR built this deck. It's 4x4 posts with 1/2 inch stainless steel rod. And the spacing of the post is only 3 feet, so the rod is stout enough to hold something standing on it, so it's not like tables always have. And we'll use the same deck design. Rest of the deck. You can see it in the photos too.
But I think the 2D elevations give a good option. What's going on, right? The three-dimensionals are a little bit deceiving because what I'm looking at is the house in its totality once the addition is on it, right? And the house jumping out. The addition is jumping out right now. Sure. So in terms of presentation, I think you may want to rendering it all the same.
Right. And change the view, that aerial view from the north is maybe not the ideal view, because I think what anybody would see driving by, and the reason you want to conserve the character of the house is what you see driving by. That is why we chose this spot up on the hill. It's tucked around the side. It's already a solid form that we're pulling out, and it is sort of the least impactful on how that. I agree that 3D
the roof monitor, or existing roof monitor is same height as your post roof monitor. When you stand at the street and you look up, you can barely see your roof monitor. Your roof monitor is going to be a little more obvious because it's closer to the end. I would suggest that maybe you consider some sort of scale reduction there, just so that it doesn't overwhelm.
Like I said, based on the rest. Top of the box. I don't disagree with you that being a possibility. And I think taking a 3D view of the street, it's like it's actually visible or not. See both of them.
And looking at your site, your house is up. So I mean that helps hide, but when I see it in these
sure.
renderings,
It's a very valid point, and in fact, I don't want to go down that road if it is fun. I don't want it to be silly. But you do see our light bulb from the street. It's not as strong as it might be if we put Christmas lights on at night. So I actually do want it to be seen.
But if you got it on, added on the light bulb, but you've also extended your bathroom. That helps distinguish. This is something unique. This isn't the exact same area, obviously. So I like that. I like that one. So sort of probably told you some problems.
It does, and we actually did a couple other things I have in mind. They're not on here because they're not set in stone in my mind or my wife's mind. One of the things I want to do is you can see the addition is going to have a cantilever on all sides. Front and on the back, about 20 inches in the back, 20 on the side of the angle. To differentiate this, we want a cantilever on all sides. It'll also give it a smaller footprint on the ground, help with water drainage around the sides. And then
How big is the proposed cantilever?
it's the same as the front and rear cantilever. So it's the same cantilever, it's just on all sides. Because if we had done the side like the Glasgow side was, then the foundation would come all the way out. Which you get back. Over cantilever on all sides to kind of. And we were thinking about using, it'll be a CMU base for the foundation, maybe doing a stack bond instead of the running bond, so that the base is differentiated from the house. We'll still probably paint it black or whatever. But the coursing and the texture of the block will be different.
There's a running bond in there.
Right?
There's a running bond.
Yeah, it's exposed running bond, it's just painted black. You probably can see that. Just to differentiate a little bit. We still want vertical siding, wood siding to be black. We've also looked at whether, a couple other additions, like similar with like Fuchugi, where you burn the wood and it's black, like maybe changing what the texture of the wood was. But I think we're probably going to stick with something closer to this, and we'll have a product spec for wood material.
The only thing I'll add, probably when you come back for approval, I'm sure my colleagues will want to know about materials. And what
Sure.
they're using, so.
Yeah, we kind of want to get feedback
Yeah.
for what you guys are thinking in terms of like how much to make it look exactly like the original house and how to differentiate it. So I think we got some good feedback.
Yeah. And I'll let the architect jump in on that. I think Mr. Kalinsky was getting there, respecting it, but not exactly the same.
That's the idea.
Subtle differentiation, I think, is what work here. I think that the burnt wood probably would be just a little bit too much. It would draw too much attention to it.
And we don't want that. We want it to kind of blend in with the house, not like trying to like copy it, but so it respects what's there, has the same flavor, but is different enough that you know it's not the original.
Yeah, just real quick. Is that original? It is. Better reset.
Yeah, no, that stays. And so if you go back in the proposed elevations on that side of the house, the steps that go up would go away. There's a deck there, and then instead of a ramp that would shoot down to the back, because the ramp came from where the steps are, landed on that wall. So you would park your car, walk up the steps, around 180 degrees, and then go up the ramp to the front door. So we're going to keep that same approach, or go back to the original approach, have the landing at the top where the stairs are, and then large like lily pad steps down to the step. So the flavor is there.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah. You look that way, I was wondering, yeah.
No, John.
You walked out that way, but.
Hey, John.
I thought I saw it that way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, John.
All right, so we'll move on to workshop number 3, which is ARB 23-HOL-20WS 73, located at 7318 Rincon Road in Alexandria. The proposed project includes interior remodeling, raised roof at the existing addition to create a main level primary deck.
Mr. Chairman, I have to read a disclosure statement. I, John Burns, under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112B1, 2-3115H, declare my personal interest in transactions brought before the Architecture Review Board involving the Holland Hills Overlay District, specifically state the following. 8.1. Workshop items ARB 23-HOL-22WS at 7318 Rincon Road, ARB 23-HOL-22S for 7411 Lane, and ARB 23-HOL-22WS at 7411 Ricard Lane involve the Holland Hills Historic Overlay District. The nature of my personal interest is that I own and reside in a home that is valued at over is located in the Holland Hills Historic Overlay District. I'm a member of a group of 3 or more persons, who are members of which are affected by the transaction, or am able to participate in the transaction fairly objectively.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Last girl, I was here last month. Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
Because
Yes, sir.
we don't have to recreate all my things I said last week, so that's fine. So the week after I was here, we were scheduled to be before the DRC in Holland Hills. And I had planned to present to them the same information that I presented here, but based on your feedback at last ARB meeting, I decided that I would revise the plans and then present them to DRC and get their feedback as well. So what I'm showing you tonight is kind of a combination of their feedback and your feedback, and hopefully it'll get us to a good solution. So, you've all seen this before, and the existing addition is on the left-hand side there. We're proposing to, as you remember, raise it up so that the floor level can be equal to at the main level of the house. So this is the existing floor plan. And we have the existing elevations, I think. Oh, that's proposed.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we can start here, but so you suggested that we try to differentiate the addition from the original structure. So my thought was there was an office there that was between the addition, and it was the first room you came into from the original house. In the front of that office, it's cantilevered 2 feet, just like the rest of the front of the house is. So my thought was to cut that back 2 feet, so it's flush with the foundation wall. And that then creates separation. And we can also then define the major part of the addition as a rectangle that has a separate roof and is separated on the front from the original house. Probably some elevations, I think. Yeah. Those are the existing elevations. I might also say in this, so these are the proposed elevations. When we did the presentation for the DRC, I had shown a shed roof on the addition, and one of the board members suggested a butterfly roof, which I thought was a really terrific suggestion. I think it works very well. And the one wing of the butterfly is longer than the other one because of where the the downspout has to be, obviously there has to be a downspout at the valley. And one other thing I need to tell you that we decided to do was to reestablish the original carport that was in the detached structure originally. So we'd like to remove those walls so you get that, you know, negative space again, and you get the column on the corner, the steel column on the corner. We just thought it would be an asset to the property, as well as something that might be taken back to the original structure. And it also doesn't, and it's not so much of a solid wall like it is now. It's brick on the end now, so it would create a negative space there. So where the downspout has to come down would be against a corner of the brick that's not in the middle of that width of that front wall of that bedroom addition. That's why the two. We also have some, which you asked for, and I thought was, you know, we have some perspective, some 3D. But this is also, I think, important. On the left-hand side is the BZA approval for the carport from 1956. The center one is the 1956 plat that shows the house and the carport separated. And then on the right, one of the owners, Sean Van, found some photographs in the Holland Hills HOD guidelines that shows, I think the left one and the center one are models of the, you know, they're not exactly what this house was, but they're kind of one of the models that the house was. So. Okay. So you can see the separation there between the two siding pieces, and I thought that could be a different color on the upper level, a different material, so that there's distinctly, you know, here's the original house, here's the addition, and I think it shows you pretty well you have some other around the house too. So that one part of that, you know, front addition still does project a little bit over the base, but it's, you know, it's pretty clear where the house angles. That panel there was a little bit of miscommunication between the renderer and me, so it's probably not quite how it should be. But the idea was to have a panel there that would, you know, so those windows are in the bathroom. So that's why they're up high. And doing this in this way also allows us on the back wall, it's really funky now. If you look at the existing photographs at all, I know there's some comments about that last time. But it allows us to smooth out that wall in the back as well. And although it doesn't look like it, those roof planes are supposed to be the same slope as the gable roof. It looks a little off, I think, because of the angle, but they are the same slope.
That's the last one. That's the last slide.
Okay. I thought you said you lost them. I'm sorry.
No, last slide, last slide.
Okay, that's all I.
Okay. Members of the board, questions, comments?
Original side addition that's there, that's down at level. So, it looked like a shed had gone through the side of the house.
Right.
It did look, so I think what you're doing here is improvement, create a new element and help resolve that other transition when they connect. It's a big step forward, and it's a big step forward from renderings. Well, we're doing it because that lets us see that.
And I understand it's difficult.
Looking at the materials that were submitted originally that didn't have the renderings in, and it was harder to sense it. This really clears it up. Separation of the two forms by recessing the second level wall back in there and distinction. All positive. It's all really go a long way from what it was. With regards to the panel on the side below those windows, necessary. Okay. The high windows are high windows. Okay. It's the side of the house. Right. This panel, I mean, I understand it. It's a miscommunication, probably not what you want to draw on there, but there's no reason to have any, just okay. Siding to complete the rest.
A question about the downspout, to go back to the yeah, down there. It looks pretty large.
It's a little big.
Yeah, it's
not
a warehouse of
Springfield. We'll size it to what it needs to be, right?
Yeah, and then, well, actually, is that the way downspouts on the entire house? There's been a lot of
Oh,
downspouts.
you're right. There aren't any other downspouts, are there?
There's a lot of water going in.
No, it's not the only downspout on the house. I mean,
So you
I
have
think,
a downspout.
again, I think he was focused on that
Yeah,
because I mentioned it, but, yeah. There are downspouts.
Because it looks, but there are other downspouts, the great city vendors of the model.
Okay.
It's all these. And one thing I'll say, one downspout is right on the pavement there. Go down to the winter time.
I think we'll run it into an underground.
Underground, yeah.
Certainly because that goes back.
I second, once these comments about relation of the street facade with the angle was kind of unresolved last month, and I think the new renderings. Back one slide.
Yep.
This is the previous slide to this one.
That one?
I'm a little concerned that one of the guidelines we have is that additions should be differential to the historic. Okay. And this, and particularly in your angled rendering, where the column is closest to the viewpoint rendering, it's distorted because of the qualities of the rendering. But it has it's less than differential, from this perspective. And have you considered lowering the slope of the butterfly? Make it less visually prominent.
Butterfly.
You have to play with it a bit to see if it works out. You can do that a number of ways. One is you could raise the pivot point in the center, or you could lower the outer edges of it. But the idea there is to let the original massing of the house shine, which you've done by popping the addition back at the upper level. It makes the original. But it draws attention, let's put it that way. And the primary approach to your house is going to be up the driveway and then to the sidewalk. And so that rendering look, the butterfly that's coming out at you, is going to be your prime viewpoint as you come up to the house. And there's a way that you might diminish that visually.
Okay. I had a gable when I showed it to the DRC.
I understand, and we talked then about the mini, you know.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's too, so it's not necessarily.
I'm not advocating you go back to
Right.
that.
Okay, so
I'm
just diminish it a little bit.
Find a way to make it less dramatic and let the original part of the house, which is a very strong composition. We'll have that. After you find it.
So it's kind of unique. It has two additions.
No, the one on the right was original. Yeah. I know.
Looking at the photos, it doesn't appear as if it would be, but I mean, obviously I'm wrong about that.
Right, most of the houses at this type, the 5 Holland Hillsy windows at the second floor level would not have been there. And it was.
So is that a change to the original type?
Probably, yeah. But nevertheless, it creates a composition that's been there for a very long time. The one that you're trying to modify is the most recent, least historical condition. But you know, we can split hairs here.
No, but that's just, this one is unique and it's not difficult to balance at all.
That's true.
I think the first attempt wasn't successful. This one is by far successful. I understand, yeah, it's supposed to be more differential, but it's kind of hard to hide that because it's up on the post on the corner. It's angled. The butterfly roof's contributing to but even though it may not hold that criteria, I think it is a major improvement of what we're seeing.
I definitely agree. The butterfly was just jarring to me. Otherwise, I was very happy when I looked at it. Or you're gone and how good it's looking.
How about the siding? I mean, do you think it should be the T111 or is something vertical that's different appropriate?
Historically, this house would have vertical roofs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the original house. Oftentimes replace that with T111 or S's for T111.
Okay.
It's not as finely finished product. Rough sanded, the roofs are not sharply defined, they're kind of splayed. There's some different. Is the original part of your house that is the part that's the far right here? Second story level, is that T111 now?
Yeah.
Right. That perhaps has been replaced. Could be.
It's one way or the other. So.
It's if you put on today's T111, you might consider sanding it smooth. Okay. Because it's. I'm a purist. When I look at it and it's unsanded, I have some of it in my own house. I look at that and I wish I had told the contractor smooth it. I can live in displayed grooves, but it really should be because these houses are fine, cleaner surfaces. Building articulation in many instances would be the pointing in the brick. But for the rest part of it, it's pretty plain.
The DRCs seem to for the T111. We're going to. Whatever.
I just simply look at your current siding that you're
Okay.
saving.
All right.
And see what gives us.
Okay. All right. Very good.
That is your inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to our fourth workshop, which is HRV 23-HOL-22WS 7411. So how are you? This is located at 7411 Ricard Lane in Alexandria. Project involved the restoration of an addition to an original 1953 Charles Goodman. Project will be to preserve and restore much of the possible uses as the basis for a proposed kitchen alteration and addition. Alteration. I think, sir, why don't we do the addition first and then we'll do the landscape.
That's great, thank you. Yeah, is it possible, because last time when I was presenting, it was really difficult to try to go through all the drawings because there's so many different interior alterations that then impact the exterior. Is it okay if I stand over there and I can point? Is that okay? Very good. So I'll do that. I won't touch the screen. Sort of. I think it's easier if I just.
Should I turn the camera for Michelle?
So, first slide.
Oh, yes. No, she's good. She's good.
The first slide, thanks. Next slide. This is the neighborhood map. We'll just go through this quickly. Next slide, please. Again, this is the residence right here. This is facing south, and this is looking out onto a double lot. Ricard Lane is coming in this direction, and we're proposing to, like right now, you can kind of see, it looks like back in the early days, this looked like a gravel driveway coming into the front. We have an elaborate landscape plan, which pretty much is a garden in the front and a garden in the rear, which is along the elongated elevation of the house. So we're proposing to place the carport over in this side right here, and then a connection space that takes you into an owner's entry. So the addition is at this side of the house. Next slide, please. This is the existing north elevation. And so again, as you recall, there's a lot of changes that happened to this house over the years. So we will display floor plans from the original 1953 house, and then we're going to show floor plans stacked on top of that floor plan. Well, directly below it to the current condition when the owners purchased the house, and then below that we'll show the proposed changes. For the most part, just to keep it simple, we're going to abandon this driveway right here, and the carport's going to be over in this side, in this direction. The house appears to be a flat roof house from this elevation. In fact, it's not. It's a very subtle butterfly roof. It's actually asymmetrical. The back of the pitch is different than the front pitch. But when you look at the front, it looks like a flat building. Our design basically is going to maintain this look of this house, in particular this area here, which is where the bathrooms are, and the master bedroom is in the front. This room was originally a library. In the very beginning of this house in 1953, it was a one-bedroom, one-bath house, I'm pretty sure, or two-bath house. But it's pretty much a one-bedroom house with a library, a large living room and a kitchen, and then a carport down in this space, which has been filled in over the years. And this portion of the house here, this was a kitchen addition and remodel that was done in 1978. If you look below here where this front stair is, that's actually the original Goodman solid stone plinth that was like the entryway. So you stepped up onto the stone plinth, and then the original staircase took you directly up to a deck. And that's in our proposed design, we're going to bring that back. Next slide, please. This is the south elevation, and this is the living room space here facing south. This is a large deck, and then in front of that is the master bedroom area. And in the 1953 version of the house, this was all open. This was a carport. And then this side here was basically a mechanical room and a workshop that was pressed back about 15 feet from this elevation. What you can barely see here are these dark lines right here and here and here is the original steel structure. The posts, the columns are all coming down, and that supports a perimeter steel beam that wraps around the entire house. And then the original house was primarily this upper level. All of this changed in 1963. That was filled in. So we're really not using that as any of our design cues, although it is sort of a textbook Goodman design here. And then again, as I described before, this became a ceramic studio at some point, and they just have like basic 6.0, 6.8 sliding doors placed here. Obviously, we're not going to keep that. In here, the proposed addition in this area is to extend this deck. So this deck, we want to extend this out 4 feet, but maintain this solid white line and then this rectangular box that is really prominent to the design. The reason we're extending just the deck area, which is from in this portion here, is that we're enlarging the master bedroom. So the master bedroom is all, that wall is also going to extend 4 feet to the south to accommodate basically a master suite that is in proportion to a house of this size and expense in the end. In the end, this is a very substantial renovation. The other parts to think about here and to keep track of in terms of our design is that we're really interested in this window facade here and the arrangement of these larger windows, which is 5'6", and then the typical Goodman window, which is 3'1.5" on center. So this, so let's call it a B-A-A-B-B-A-A scheme is something that we repeat with the future proposed work here and then also in the master bedroom. Next slide, please. This is the side elevation. This has been modified as well. The sliding glass door was not here, and then that window was a different version of the window. You can see the slight butterfly roof. This is the north elevation. This is the kitchen volume right there. So our addition is going to come in this direction out to the side. We're extending 11 feet in this building right here. Well, this volume, I'm sorry. This volume extends 11 feet this way, and then this is 13 feet extending in this direction. Then there is a sort of a breezeway between the buildings, and then the carport is a super light structure, and that's actually over in this area right here. Again, we want to preserve the front yard and then the backyard and build along the sides. We can only build in this direction because on the other side, there's a steep slope that drops down significantly and it wouldn't allow us to go in that direction. Next slide, please. This is a really bad picture of the west elevation, but you can kind of see that we are like falling down the hill here when we were taking this elevation. This is where the master bedroom is. Master bathroom is here. You can see the dramatic cantilever that happens off of the brick wall here, and that actually wraps all across the front of the building. And then in our addition, we are going to copy that basic form of the building and then with the cantilever as well. So when we build out to the east side, we're just going to take this building shape and extrude it out. Next slide, please. This is the original, this is how the house is right now. And then our addition is going to happen in this area right here. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we have the plans stacked up, and this is, I think this is easy for me to point at the different floor plans. So this is the lower level here, 1953 plan. Second floor, 1953 plan, that was the original building. This is how the house is today. And then this is the lower level, the upper level, and then this is what we're proposing. So I'll run through these really fast. So for downstairs, the old carport has been filled in, and you can see that this wall across the back is actually filled in where these columns are. This is the original columns that were in the back of the building, so we're going to maintain those. And then the carport was filled in, and this was just basically turned into a series of bedrooms down below. And then our plans downstairs are to reconfigure the existing spaces, and then the addition, the main addition is here to the east side, And then the volumes, it's for the most part, it's a laundry room here. There's an elevator, and then this volume right here in this corner is at a split level. And and it's only in this rear portion of the house that it is at an in-between level. And that allows us to have direct access from the carport. When you walk in, you'll walk in almost flat on grade right into the house. And then you'll ascend half a flight of stairs to get up to the upper level, which is the kitchen and the living right here. And if you go downstairs, again, it's down half a flight of stairs. And then that is to the new spaces are a office, home office, a den. And then this is a bedroom and another bedroom and a gym. And then this is just a storage area. And the mechanical room stays in the same place in all the different schemes. So we're pretty much leaving that the same. Upstairs, this is the 1953 plan. You can see the large deck that's in the southwest corner. This is the large living room. This is how it is right now, the large living room and the large deck, all pretty much the same. The master bedroom areas are also pretty much the same from the beginning. The bedroom is here, and then this was a library. There's 2 bathrooms here. This is how the house is right now. It's pretty much the same condition. The kitchen was a small galley kitchen, and then you can see the original deck, and then this stone plinth with the entryway. It's like 4 stairs that took you up to a deck, and the original front door of the house is right in this zone. In 1978, this was bumped out, and there's this sort of awkward diagonal wall that takes you over to the front door. The front door remained the same, but they essentially built the building and filled in the deck space. In our plan, we're going to resurrect the deck concept. So we're going to go, so the stone plinth is down here. We're going to go up the original stairs that you'll see in the elevation is from the original design from 1953. And then we're going to bring the deck back, and that takes guests to the front door here. But then the big change in terms of the circulation pattern is that the carport is on this side, and now we want to, the owners would like to enter the house in this path right here, coming directly into this entryway here. And again, once half a flight up into this level and then half a flight down to the lower level. The kitchen also, as you can see here, is just not the size. The owner's original intent was to buy the house and to build an addition. It wasn't to buy the house and to restore the house in its original 1953 manner. It needs an addition, and that was their original intent when they bought the house, that we need to add to this building. So the added space is a large kitchen here. And the dining room pretty much remains the same, and the living room is pretty much the same. So this room is going to remain the same. And then as you move into this area, you see here in the way the house is right now, this is essentially 2 bedrooms. That's going to turn into 1 large bedroom with an enlarged bathroom. Because the bathroom requirements were to be to be wider and just more functional for today's needs, this wall right here, which is the new width is 6 feet off the front of the building. Because we've shifted that this direction, then we've shifted this rear wall 4 feet in this direction. So that's where this extension to the house happens, right in this line. This moves 4 feet, and then the deck is also moved out 4 feet because we would like to maintain the size of the original deck. That's probably good for that. Okay, this is the lower level plan. I think we kind of covered it, but we can sort of look at a little bit more detail to where the carport is. So the carport is right in this space. Again, we want to keep the front yard open, and representatives from Moody Graham will describe that in more detail of their proposed landscape plan. But for the most part, we would like to preserve the front yard and the rear yard as open garden space. The prominent view is this way to the south. And then for the carport, the old circulation for cars were to come all the way around this house and to park in this space right here. Since then, that has all been filled in, and we would like to put the cars over in this area. And then this is a path to walk through between the buildings, or for the owners to walk in this direction here. The other thing that we can talk a little bit about is that the owners would like to have a storage shed on site. And instead of having an auxiliary building or something that's out in the backyard that actually is a separate building, we're going to try to build it into the rear of the carport area here. So it is depressed into the ground, and then there would be a small retaining wall on the side here that allows access into that space. And then that will show you in the rendering that actually is clad with the similar materials of the building. Next slide. Oh, thanks. So here, again, this is just more detail of the deck getting larger. All the pochade walls or the hatched walls, those are the improved walls or the modified walls or new walls. The kitchen elevation, so when you're looking at plan view right here, we are trying to go back to the 1953 version with these windows, and I'll show you that in more detail as well. On the back, the living room windows, which are right here, that window pattern has been copied to the master bedroom. That is a change from the original, but because there's the butterfly roof, which is ascending to the back, and when we moved the wall out 4 feet, it changed the scale of that wall of glass. And then when we did the original window layout, just looked awkward. It's like we were trying to copy the old design and then stretch it and extrude it, and it just looked off. So our new proposal is to actually, because this wall is now taller, our proposal is to go back to the living room, which are these larger size windows, and then copy and paste that onto that elevation. Next slide, please. This is the roof plan. Probably don't need to talk a lot about this, just really quickly that the shape of the butterfly, it's going down here and it's going back up in this direction. And then the roof of our carport is going to mimic that exact shape. And I'll show you that in elevations in a minute. Okay, so now we have the north elevations, 1953, current and proposed. So the addition that we're proposing is from here over to here, which is seen right here. You can see that our kitchen facade looks very similar to the original facade if you take off this post and beam screen that was always built on the building. If you remove that, then you would actually see something very similar to our window pattern here, where we have lower some operable windows, but these are 3 foot on center, but then we've copied the transom window, which is above the front entry, and we've added it there. The other change is to the front door. Because we've increased the width of that, we've modified the look of the front door by just having another 3 foot window, the side of the front door to the right, copying this window size here. So as we add things and we modify the design, we're trying to use like elements, so it basically is blending in, and it's more harmonious and similar to the original design. Okay, downstairs, these windows also change, and again, this is more textbook Goodman windows, which are 3 foot 1.5 on center, and then I think it's roughly 25 inches to this horizontal mullion, and then 2 doors that are built in, also copying the Goodman style door. Next slide, please. Okay, so now, these are some descriptions. So during our last meeting, Mr. Burns had some comments about different overhangs. So I assume that everybody received the revised large presentation packets. Everybody saw it's like 35 pages. Everybody got it? Okay, great. So then there's some red notes. One thing that we were talking about the last time was that we had a slight overhang right in this area. We have trimmed that back. That is removed. Next slide. Here you can see it again in the 3D rendering. So we had a small overhang right here. That's been removed. So we have a square corner matching the original. Other things we could talk about really quickly. The siding, it's originally a 1x4 Doug fir square board that is a tongue and groove board. We know that because on the west side, the original siding is there. And that's what we're going to repeat. And then we know from, I think it's a 1955 article in the Washington Star they described all of the details of the material palette used for the house. So we're basically going to copy that. And it was a light gray house. It was a light gray stained house. And the one thing that we might modify is that the panels, they had some pins, they're sort of like, they're not cement board panels, but very similar, painted panels on the front of the building, and they were black. And we don't think we are going to go for black panels, but we'll have some other colored panels that are essentially lining up with the Charles Goodman window style here. The railing we are looking at is a powder coated white steel frame with, right now we're looking at a cable wire because it pretty much, oh, sorry.
Trip.
And with the cable wire because it pretty much, it goes translucent and you don't really see the wire so much. And we're thinking of doing that vertically as opposed to horizontally. So we're still looking into that. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is another view, and you can kind of see where we removed that slight overhang. Here I can talk briefly about the carports. The carport, we're trying to make it as light as possible. What I mean by that is the skinniest column made of steel that the engineers will allow us to have. And then these drop steel beams, it is a 23-foot span, so there will be some size to that. And then in terms of the roof line, we are copying the back of the building and all Goodman buildings. We know them very well. I think we're approaching 50 projects that we worked on of Charles Goodman remodels. It's essentially what my office is centered on, restoring mid-century modern buildings. I have 18 people working for me full-time, and this is sort of what we do. And I know these buildings inside and out, and we are going to copy that to the best of our ability. It's always a fight we have with our engineer team to get it as thin and as light as possible. So I know the constraints and I understand what we need to do. So that's how that's going to look. Next slide, please. So here we go. These are I'm going to try to go through this a little bit faster here. So these are the existing elevations, and this is original. This is modified over the years, and this is where we are going now. This whole elevation is coming out 11 and 13 feet towards us. And then this is this is sort of the 1.5 story building. So you can see on the front, on this elevation, we're maintaining the original Goodman look, where the building is on a brick base with a cantilever, substantial cantilever coming off the front of the building. And then we're actually entering in this door directly from the carport. This tower you see here will be an elevator. And then this, we pretty much, the other thing, we'll get to that in a minute. Next slide, please.
And sir, if I could just have you.
Speed up?
Yeah.
Okay. The other change we made is right here in this eave projection. Before those were lined up and they were matching, we are going to pull the eave projection from the carport entry back to 2 feet. Next slide, please. That's being shown right here again. Next slide, please. Oh, this is the rear elevations. So here we're going to take this window pattern and we're placing it here where the master suite is. These same lines are copied down here, and then we're going to use those for the lower level. Next slide, please. The other changes that we have made since the last presentation, and this might actually change once again, and the owners are not quite aware of this, but we're talking to the engineers about possibly removing these 3 columns that we had in the back. Mr. Burns, you mentioned before that possibly we had 4 in the previous design, and we altered that and we moved it back to 3. And then, so those columns now align with the original structural steel posts that were all across the south facade. We're looking at it today. We actually think that we might be able to weld steel columns, steel beams to the existing steel beams and get this 8-foot cantilever straight out with 4 steel beams, and then we can eliminate the columns altogether. That's our next change that we're working on. So that's that. And then here, the other part that we were really talking about was preserving this large rectangle right here, this white rectangle that frames this original house. So we pulled that eave back 2 feet, so it's no longer in line with this eave overhang. Next slide. And then you see it again. It's pretty clear right here. Let's pull back. And then next slide, please. I think this is a good one to stop on. So I think we're kind of, are there any questions?
All right, members of the board, questions, comments, concerns?
Well, I'm much happier with your presentation. I understand there were some glitches last time. Now I can understand what you're trying to do. All the design professionals, it's just the nuances about that.
How the mission of the eight on the apples. I think
Actually, could we move forward through the slides? Because I think we have a drawing. Keep going, please. So you can actually see what that would. Keep going, please. One more sections, one more. There it is right there. Back one more. Reverse, one more. There it is right there. So you can kind of see the height of this is actually based on someone being in the kitchen and looking out this tall window, and we don't want them to, so this is a person that's 5'8", and we want the roof to be above the sight line as they're looking out that side window. But right now, Roger, do you know the details? How much lower is it from the original building?
Oh, okay, so.
About 3 feet, 4 feet lower.
Yes, under 4 feet.
Under 4 feet, and this is the height of a car right here. So we could look at that. I know we're gonna have to make some modification. Something's gonna have to change. It just wouldn't. It's just the nature of this. So we could look at that and see.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the comment.
To lower the height of the carport. So we keep the same roof shape, but we would try to lower it a little bit.
Other comments or questions?
But comment, yes, sir. Swan's comment is valid. If that the carport is light, delicate, and I commented on it before, I think it's about as light as you can get. But if it were slightly lower, it may be a little bit more deferential and not seem to extend the whole composition of the facade that much further if it went down a little. That little stepping down, I think would be helpful. But I'm going to reiterate what I've said before. Original, I think it's a very good response to the conditions that are there. I think that the architecture is good, the design's good. I mean, we can always go back and forth on small elements or details, or you made some of those tweaks or changes that we discussed before by kind of pulling back extended roofs and using that, and I think that's very helpful. I think the rear elevation composition is well done. I don't think it is going to be very prominent. It's a very private place, having been there when we did the site visit. We'd still like it to be appropriate, but not hung up on any particular detail of what you have in the back. A little bit of pause with the frame kind of being penetrated further out and extended beyond, but it's not enough for me to say don't do it. So, architecture, I feel is respectful overall to the Goodman house. I know it's changing it, it's changing the character. Like that you've done the entire history and presented that to us, and so we can see what it's based on. I mean, pretty good presentation and description of all the reasons why things are the way they are. So I mean, I'm happy to support it.
Yes, sir. On the carport roof, yeah, lowered it really well. Which area? It shows the height. I can see why, because it lines up, the top lines up with the band board. But have you, I know that's a slower car. Will the owner ever buy that car? Oh, something like that, or a whatever. If you got a tall roof, I'll get a Hummer.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Right.
So, are we concerned at all from the back view? I know that I think you're kind of parts of the back. Also from the deck, I tell that you can see it. That's way far away. I was wondering, would it be helpful to raise the roof slightly? I know that disrespects the band board. Which house? Because that's a 5'8" person or 6 foot.
5'8".
Okay. So, is it no 6 foot, above 6 foot? That would be.
How tall is it inside the store? What's the ceiling height in there?
Inside?
Inside.
Oh, 7 foot.
Okay, 7 foot. So it's just
7 foot inside.
6/8 foot. All right, so that's good. I just, that's my only comment, because as you get larger vehicles, God forbid, maybe.
I think it was also, we were looking at a truck or an SUV,
Yeah.
but in particular, like an F-150 truck, and then maybe there's a rack on that truck, and if
Yeah.
you do need to get in and out of there, I think. The other thing is, if you look at, there is another lower roof that is a small roof, almost a flat roof that is right above the owner's entry of the door. You see that beyond right there. Exactly. Thank you. So if you look at that height of that, we actually found the middle height between the existing building and that canopy. So we've sort of found a balance between that. But we've poured through this design, like every little piece and every little part has been tweaked and fine tuned to a crazy degree. So I think that's where we found that balance. But I think what we could do next time is actually draw a truck with a rack and maybe a kayak, and then we'll see where we land.
I'm gonna buy a bus.
An
RV.
Fire. And what is the roof of that? As the people looking at it, are this asphalt?
We were thinking that maybe it's like a standing seam metal or something to that effect. I know that's not.
But I get out of my
Green
car.
would be nice. Yeah.
I'm not, nothing overly talking about. Sensitive system. I'm sorry. Yeah. Sensitive.
Right.
Something that be different. I agree. Never gone. Oh, they start. They're good.
Any questions or comments?
Oh, actually, I wrote, I'm in a fully enclosed garage. Is that an issue being so exposed? Well, no. So, okay. I dig it.
thinking Holland Hills is not.
It is what it is. Okay, good. Okay.
There are garages in Holland Hills.
Yeah, I'm not saying to do it. I just asked the question.
Yeah.
Mr. Burns.
Yeah, in response to Joe's comment, the protective covenants in Holland Hills allow up to a 2-car garage. I believe there are 6 currently. But most people choose a carport because they're light and open. The house is
Yeah, no, I do not. I like it.
Okay, keep that as a note. First comment is, this was a much better presentation, much easier to understand, much clearer to understand the concepts, where you started from, how the house evolved, where you're going than last month. So that made it a lot easier, I think, for everybody to understand what's going on. So first, I commend you for that. I still have fundamental concerns because the original house is changed on all 4 sides. And I'm in grips with that in my own personal reaction. But I think that this evolution of the design has given greater respect to the original house. It's more clearly apparent where the original house was. Holding those roofs back, the front and the back, things like that, I think are nice touches. a little concerned about the extension of the deck on the south side. I like that you went from 4 posts to 3, lining up with the steel columns, original. I think it's a technological tour de force if you can cantilever out 8 feet, but it might be simpler to just put the 3 columns in. I talked to your contractor about how much it might cost to come up with the engineering solution that will cantilever 8 feet. And you don't want it to become like a diving board. Sure. I don't think that's the intent, but that's a long cantilever in a domestic scale. But overall, recognizing that this started out as a 1-bedroom house, and it is now a multi-bedroom house. The carport was internal, it's now external. That amount of change, it is substantial, there's no question about that. But I think that this design responds to the criticisms that I and other people made last time. So I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Any questions, comments? Yes, sir. Right. Our last workshop, which is ARB 23-HOL-21WS, 7411 Hard Landscape, located 7411 Hard Period. The project includes the landscape master plan with gardens, pools, sidewalls, patios, pedestrian paths, and vehicular access.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mila, and I'm with Moody Graham. We're the landscape architect for the project. I am very excited to see you all in person. We've met on several occasions online, and I'm also excited about the collaboration on the project with the client, Cook Architecture, and you. With that, I will dive into the project. It's a struggle. I'm debating whether to take the microphone or go next to the screen and be able to point. So I will start from here, and if I see the need to move forward, if that's okay with you, I will move forward. So this is just the introduction page with table of content and this. This is a map that we already saw, Holland Hills outline, and in yellow you can see the house that Michael so well presented. This is the same historic map that we already saw, with the house pointed in the lower corner with the yellow arrow. And I think I'm just gonna make my way here. This is an current aerial view with the property outline. It's a double lot. Point it out. Next slide, please. This is the site survey with the topographic information and the existing trees. As you all know, we have quite a bit of grade change, and we have a lot of existing trees. This is a zoomed in existing conditions plan of the upper lot where the house is located here, and closer to look. Next slide, please. These are some of the images of the existing conditions, and I'm not going to spend too much time, but this is again the north facade. This is showing an existing woodland wall, providing glimpses of the stone patio that is located at the base here that Michael already noted. Next slide, please. And this is showing the south side of the house with another existing wall and topography and some of the existing trees. And this is the outlot A, which is the secondary or the lower part of the property with a lot of existing trees currently, a lot of invasives and all of pines and invasives and all of these other brush and invasives will be cleared out. It will become part of the usable. So when we got on board on the project, some of the first things we did is analyze the site. And as I already noted, and in your site visits, we're dealing with steep slope conditions, a lot of grade change. This obviously is leading to drainage issues. And so these are some of the things that we're taking into consideration in terms of the big picture of the site. And then another kind of big gesture or thing that we're taking into consideration is the Holland Hills and how this came about and how the architecture sits on the site and how there is a strong relationship between the house, between the architecture and the landscape, and how this house allows this opportunity and important connection by getting very open perimeters and provide. So these are some of the notes. We have this large existing willow oak tree in the back. We have a beautiful chestnut tree in the front. We have a lot of trees at the perimeter, and we have been trying to keep the willow oak. Unfortunately, throughout the process, of course, we rely on other consultants and we engaged arborists. And it kept on so that 3 friends arborists came on site and they all determined that the willow oak indeed is 2 trees that are kind of like growing together from the base up. And the separation of the 2 trunks is causing structural issues. And in addition to this problem, there's also insect infestation and fungal infestation. And with the latest upload of the presentation, there's an arborist report that was submitted as an attachment. So I thought I'm gonna put this out there early on. So I personally was very devastated by this news because I love the tree. However, it's deemed hazardous and not really, it doesn't really make sense to keep it because it will eventually be hazardous, and the best course of action recommended by the arborist is next slide, please. So this is another site analysis diagram, which is taking into consideration the view sheds and the circulation. And this is showing, so this is the future carport area, so this is the vehicular circulation. We know that we have some pedestrian circulation throughout the property, and we have now the opportunity to take advantage of this outlaw and create kind of like different garden rooms and trail that goes through the existing what would be part of that. Next slide, please. So this is taking the section from folk architecture and just further iterating these opportunities for the forest perimeter and opportunities to reinforce the connection between architecture and next slide, please. When we think about these properties, we kind of think about the core garden, which is the closest part of the house, which is where you put a lot of detail and a lot of thought in terms of this is the easiest to access. So this is the place that you would spend the most time. So you want things to be well thought out, well detailed, and you want to have this organized and refined. And then you have the transition zone, which leads you into the surround. And the surround is really the perimeter where you have the least amount of design, or it's not really the least amount of design, it's just the least amount of craftsmanship. It's more the wild the opportunities to create layered gardens, opportunities to integrate pollinators and think of habitat. Next slide, please. If we look how this plan translates into our site in sectional view, because we know that we have the topography. We know that the house takes advantage of high point and overlooks down. And what does that mean in terms of this core garden, transition garden? Next slide, please. So we took all these site analysis opportunities and constraints in mind when we presented a few different options to the client, and based on their feedback and comment, we came up with the composite plan. One of the elements that the client wants to incorporate is the pool, which is currently here, and then we obviously had to take into account the vehicular circulation, pedestrian circulation, and how mitigate some of the current erosion and drainage issues. So the site analysis informed the design, and the design really tries to create a light footprint of the hardscape and the organization of the garden by allowing for the functionality of the vehicular and pedestrian circulation, but using lighter materials and really letting the garden kind of weave through the property and become by breaking plants, taking these close interactions. So next slide, please. We'll use, so this is a sketch that shows the south garden and how in the landscape to section that Michael explained. So this is the pool. This is where we thought we are going to keep the tree, but we recently found out we cannot. And so this is the carport, the shed, which we're screening with the planting to scale it down and make it soft. We are proposing to add, so this is the existing home, we're proposing to add to it to create this opportunity, planting that would be visible from here. And then you have this where you come from the front garden or the carport area or the side entrance, and you have this opportunity to go into the backyard. And this creates a moment of pause where you can take a moment to see your take one without or out on the nature trail.
Mila, could you speak up just a little bit?
Oh, yes. Sorry. I will bring my stronger voice. So this is the composite material, which is showing the different materials proposed for. Is that better, or shall I move back to the microphone?
Good.
So we have, in terms of vehicular access, we're proposing a gravel area framed by concrete bands as an opportunity to add additional cars here, and we have a secondary parking option, which is again gravel with a small concrete like that. So by doing that and eliminating the existing driveway, we're solving a lot of the grading and drainage problems, because the driveway was very steep. A lot of paving now got eliminated, and that helps us refine the grade. We're proposing to add another wall to kind of help with that. And so the main, to me, this looks a little bit, the resolution is not great, but hopefully you can see it. So the main points are use the gravel as connecting path, which is a lighter material and it's porous, and so these are these areas here. And for secondary paths and or maintenance, such as here and here we use mulch. And so at the intersection points where we have connections, we're proposing very rectangular concrete pavers kind of fit in with the language. In the back garden, we are building up on the language found in the existing Goodman's irregular stone patio, the plinth in the front. So we're proposing to match the stone for the back stairs and the pool. Again, the pool is situated here. It's kind of set into the slope, and as the sketch was showing, there is a little bit of exposed edge happening here, and then again, irregular stone to connect it down to the trail. I already mentioned extension of this wall, another wall here. We are tackling the AC equipment and generator in this area again, kind of taking advantage of the slope and pushing it away from the main outdoor area. Next slide, please. So here are some of the materials that we're considering. So this is again image of the existing patio. So we're gonna try to match, or we are gonna match this present image of a gravel that would be used for the vehicular areas and some of these pedestrian connections. This is the existing brick wall, which we're gonna match. Present image of the concrete paver that we are envisioning, and then wood raised stone steppers. Next slide, please. This is our drainage plan with some of the dimensions, and we will further develop that for final presentation. Next slide, please. This is the preliminary grading executed by RC Fields, which is the civil engineer we're collaborating with. This is the lighting plan, again, preliminary lighting plan showing that we're thinking of lighting the core garden, nothing at the perimeter, and we're thinking of using something like this path light for the pedestrian path and lighting some of the trees. This is our preliminary planting plan, identifying some of the major species that we're considering, predominantly native planting, and we'll be working and very excited about collaborating with the client who is a very knowledgeable horticulturist and gardener. So we'll be developing the final planting plan in collaboration with her. Next slide, please. This is showing how the upper lot will be connected with the lower lot and how we kind of envision leading through that more woodland area with opportunity for several seating nooks. This is at a higher elevation, kind of overlooking down, and then we have one at the lower elevation taking advantage of this long view this way. And we have some of the present images noted. Next slide, please. I feel like I'm getting over the 8 minutes. Oh, here we are. Any questions? I'm going to move back there so I can take notes.
Sure. Members of the board with questions, comments?
Sure. Excellent presentation. I think your design is great. Respecting the land form and everything. Fine with me. Perfect. I have a few quick practical questions. What if I have a lot of pathways? It's just, you can design what you want to do. It just seemed a lot of paths, sort of to me. I know you're trying. And secondary path, which is the one on the far right. Which is, I think ours are path to go to the bridges or decks. tie the two together. Is that right? Or shown yeah, probably, which is great. I think it's, I thought there's a lot of things going on. And I thought maybe that garden path on the edge, if it's just mulch, it's probably gonna get overgrown. Or not overgrown, but it'll probably kind of disappear, which is. I think, all right, you said the big tree is gone and that changed a lot. Things could look. To the pool, you know. Does the owner want to extend the lawn space more now? They actually. That's all. Because you don't have to worry about the grading around the existing tree. Pass some dirt. Just a little bit, because it is coming up.
The gardener, I'd rather use it.
Okay, so keep the slope.
I think.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I was just saying, you have the opportunity to flatten it out.
The more places I can put.
Well, then, but you have more sun now to do
Yeah.
that, for sure. And then maybe maybe there's a terrace garden that goes down the hill that for plant. Let's see, so. The thing I was gonna say is, Fairfax County standpoint, to service the backyard, because you're gonna have to have full equipment, full service and so forth. I know you just have the mulch path along the carport side there. That's your shallowest grade. And I know there's a swell that RC Fields has down there. Maybe speak with him. Maybe provide something that's more stable than mulch, perhaps, or if you're going to have to get maybe a bobcat down there periodically for tree removal, heaven forbid another tree dies or something, or to service your pool, so forth. That was one of the, well, a lot of interesting things, you know. There's grass paved, which is lawn that has grass, which has grass rings underneath it. So you don't see it. It's just, it looks like lawn. You can use grass pavements like little squares. But there's the least conspicuous. You can use the gravel, like get a lot of loose and maybe some kind of gravel that kind of goes with the large steps. Don't overdo it. Just help me out because I think you're going to need it, and you have good access to it.
There are a lot of trees back there.
On the side there.
It's a good point in that second.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of trees if something dies and we have to get equipment back there.
Yes, because it'll. So you're in a crane to go to your house.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And when you do put, I have 3.5 acres where I live, and down the hill, from the well, see water, whatever.
We live that now.
What's that?
We live that challenge now.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take much for the yard's figured out. And lastly, the pool deck area, I love the stone and everything, just, you know, it's a challenge because it's uneven unless you're going to get some nice flat stones around your pool. The details, I'm going overboard here, but I have grass and stuff like going for time or something like that. But you know, you have to show chairs, so you said you want to age in place. As long as it's 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. So maybe think of a different pavement chair around the pool. It could be maybe it's a. I know you want it as natural as possible, but you still do the same thing, but instead some not so cleft pavers, and I think that's what you want. A mortar set on a concrete slab, so make it less porous and more plant forward. You can. Yes, no.
Oh, pests. I thought you said pets.
We have a dog.
Yeah, no, pets, no, pets. Okay.
Pets.
Dog.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, so is he gonna have an area? Or everything is. There we go. I better be allowed to go with the pool.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. You're all set. It's cool. I love it. And hopefully when you do the pool, you do a dark color because it really reflects the light and everything.
Yeah.
Because it's a public pool, so go crazy.
That's the plan.
And what is the finish of the outside of the pool? Will be stone or something?
Irregular,
On the exposed outside walls of the pool?
yeah, irregular, irregular stone.
So it's natural stone of some sort?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
natural stone with no.
Because the picture showed that when you showed the elevation of the house, you got that perspective, see how it all relates.
Yeah, we'll close the matching.
Okay. Yeah, go with the vernacular in the house. Or that's a nice earthen material.
Thanks, sir. Any other questions, comments?
I want to ask a really pragmatic and really correct. Well, it's incredibly elegant. But will it be functional? What people want to sit on the sides? Don't you need a fence to keep the children out? Are there certain safety concerns?
If the pool has a cover,
Okay, but there's no pool deck, and I don't have a pool, but I spend time washing one because there's one next door at the shore. People seem to like pool decks. And I'm thinking perhaps in terms of resale value. I mean, this is a very unfunctional item. Elegant, lovely, but is it functional? Will it work as a pool?
well, this, I mean, the stone, the drops, so this is all on flush with the pool, so that is all part of the pool deck. And then the grate is probably like starting here is where the grate goes down.
And is it safe not to have some sort of barrier at the back where people falling over?
It'll be a 30-inch drop, 3 feet out.
I think.
And it is primarily a lap pool. Our grandchildren will, of course, play in it, but it is really primarily a lap pool.
It really is a garden pool with buckets. It's designed that way. And I do respect your opinion about the pool decks, but this is going to. As long as you don't have your pool deck irregular, I think it would have to be.
The next owner's gonna look 4 feet upon.
I don't think they worry about resale. Right. I do agree. Yeah, that's right.
Our kids will have.
Kids, grandkids.
Yeah, I'll expand on one of Joe's comments. The original house and the changes that you're proposing, at this point, it's obvious that it was carefully thought out so that it's an age-in-place house. Because of the elevator, the cell changes and grades that accommodate that. I don't see the same care in the landscape design. Joe pointed out, there's little gaps in those stones, the concrete pavers you showed. My mother had a walker. It's a thump every time you hit one of those joints. It's from a practical standpoint, it's really elegant looking. But in terms of someone with limited mobility moving across those irregular surfaces, is something to consider. Just keep that in mind. The thing that puzzles me is that that's a whole lot of paving as you approach the house. You got room for 5 cars to park there. You're getting 2 curb cuts. If you really need that much paving and parking in front of the house, you've spent so much time working on it, and all you're going to see is automobiles, automobiles, automobiles as you approach the house. I understand that. You're in a cul-de-sac and you have to park a ways back. If you've got more than 5 or 6 guests, it's kind of hard to get parking. But it has an impact on the way that you approach the house. Your perception of your house is, for any of your guests who might walk up to it, obviously the owners come up and drive up to it. Unless you're taking a walk, you're walking the dog or something. But that's a whole lot of paving. In fact, where it touches the end of the cul-de-sac there, it's almost all paving.
But it's like that now. So much paving there now.
I understand that. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's. You should slavishly keep the historic arrangement. It's just that One of the things that I find difficulty with Commonwealth houses is that the cars become primary features, and you wade through the sea of cars to get to these houses. That's, you know, people always, they put carports in front yards, and big parking spaces and stuff like that, and it diminishes the architecture. I just suggest that you give some thought to the pedestrian approach to the house and how much paving you really need. That's all I'm going to suggest.
That's a good comment, John. About it, and we will. Our family. Caregiver. So. But we're gonna think about it.
Yeah, no, we've got 3 cars in our family and a single width driveway, and so we got 2 this way and 1 on the street, and so that's just how we go. But you have the space for this. I'm not saying you don't have the space. But I'm saying think about how people approach your home. Putting a lot of effort into this. I just think, don't let the cars overwhelm the approach.
Just add on what John was saying, the cars is about, maybe the amount of paving when there's not in the driveway there. Perhaps that could be a pavement that kind of just disappears, kind of sign it, to treat it differently, the grass pavement, something that is not so, there's asphalt or concrete, so it's a little more friendlier. That should not be used a lot. Maybe you said weekends or during kids. Right. But I think that's very important. And as I kind of said, there's a lot of pedestrian access go through different. This is board, but what kind of that? Like,
what is the material of?
Gravel.
The driveway is gravel?
Yes, both areas are gravel. And I think the thought was that by keeping the tree that is between the 2 parking areas and having this a little bit on an angle, I think this planting here would kind of prevent you from really seeing.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me.
And then you have this plant island, which is also being seen from different. I think this is probably what is probably more bothering to the most. But when there are no cars, it really, like this planting, I think is gonna, and then you have planting on this side, which is kind of going to minimize the effect. And the fact that it's gravel, it feels more part of the garden.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Just look at options. Look at options. And if you do gravel for age in place, you use a binder with your gravel, so it kind of sticks it together. For residential use, you can do that. Commercial use, just because that's what you're coming from. I think John's point too. He's going down the cul-de-sac, the dead end. Oh my God, there's a lot of paving here. The cars are hard. Just think about it. Give me time.
Comments?
Thank you very much. I expect a party. Okay, a full party.
Okay, that will end on the next meeting.
All right. Celebrate, yeah.
Six.
Think about too. I think children.
I'm sorry? 6 is a quorum.
Yes,
or-
yeah.
Oh, but they're 7. because-
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know where.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Thank you.
But we could skip, well, we should come back to it. She just can't, she can't count as a quorum for the, for like the count of,
All right.
because there has to be a quorum on the symbol.
Moving on with our agenda, we do not have any presentations. So moving on to board and staff items. The first item is review and action on approval of our previous month's minutes from May 11th, 2023. Did anybody have any alterations to last month's meeting?
I received none.
Did you get any?
Yeah, I received none, yeah.
In that case, I would certainly entertain a motion to adopt the meeting minutes and to pay. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Burns. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion carries. Denise, treasurer's report.
Yes. So the treasurer's report was emailed to you. I believe I actually put it in the Ignite file as well. It's end of the year, so the staff member apologizes. The ending balance was $12,163.87. And that included the $75 contribution to Preservation Virginia, membership to Preservation Virginia. Yeah.
Right, administrative items, bylaws approved for August recess. And well,
Yes, it will be.
in fair warning, now that I chaired this meeting, I think I'm chairing next month's meeting, so Denise and I get to talk more. Wonderful. Next month's meeting, based on these workshops, I expect to be busy, and then if we take August off, certainly depending on what happens in next month's meeting, if something didn't get. Just be ready for September to be a big meeting and to see where we are.
That's right.
So.
Pretty well worked on that. In fact, I saw the meeting and I asked today saying, where's the party? Excuse me, where's the August recess? I read it so quickly.
All right, so we are good on that. Denise, staffing updates.
Well, I don't have a staffing update yet, but I will say that we have completed the interviews for the Planner 3 position for this position. We've completed the interviews. And the application for the Planner 2s, that closed on May 26th. I have the pool of candidates and we'll be interviewing in the next few weeks for the Planner 2s. And we had a summer intern join us who was not able to come tonight. She went to the History Commission last night. And she will come to the July meeting. So we do have a little extra help, which is good, which is really good.
She
Yes.
also seems to be quite delightful.
Yes, she really is. She is. She's really very, very lovely.
So Denise, do you feel that any of the candidates for level 3 is higher level?
I am feeling good.
Not desperation higher.
No. I'm feeling. I'm fingers crossed. Everybody, right? Okay.
All right. Discussion and update on reports. First, the Lorton Workhouse Master Plan.
There's a couple new revelations. First of all, they went down to Richmond for the DRV, HR, and no, I didn't hear anything from the architect. He was supposed to say how it went.
Yeah.
Following night.
No, I have not.
Nervous about that. Plus, Leon, he has stepped down for health reasons. A person on Rachel, I think her last name, she did some foundation last year. Seems. I'm assuming.
On the rest of these.
So that would be Chris, but I can give you the update. So I actually have the dates. The Planning Commission public hearing is scheduled for next Wednesday, July 14th at 7:30. There'll is also a community meeting scheduled with Supervisor Alcorn sometime between the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors meeting, which I have a TBD for that. And then if all goes well, the master plan will go to the board on July 25th.
You're done, right?
Yes.
Okay. Lake Ann revitalization.
Yes, again, I think I either sent it in an email or I put it in your packet in the Ignite folder. The Lake Ann Economic Visioning Study final presentation is tonight. That's, yeah. So I requested, well, I asked the question, is it going to be videotaped? And it is. So you can go back and watch it. I can go back and watch it. But then the staff member who's leading it suggested that perhaps they could come and maybe not the consultant, but the staff could come and give a presentation if you all would like. So, and I'm seeing heads nod. So, okay, yep, I will follow up with them.
Right. Review coordination and common ERC.
That's good, yes. We had a meeting and did some good progress and ultimately decided that although these are parallel tracks, they're somewhat different tracks. And they complement one another. On those ERC, those are fences. You don't look at fences. Look at things that you don't need building permit. Also decided that a key part of liaison is going to be explaining educational outreach, probably something that we might put on the county side website, mirror it with similar information on the Association Design Review Committee website. We had one meeting, I thought went well.
Fair enough. All right. Correspondence and announcements. Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Coastal Storm Risk Management Feasibility Study.
Yes, yes. So I think it was about a year ago, this came to the Architectural Review Board. And the request was, did you want to be a consulting party under this study or for the study? They've since revised their plans and they're no longer going to be, there are a few things that they've taken out. I'm going to here. Two alternatives were under consideration: the Arlington Water Pollution Control Plant, and then the Bellhaven, which the Bellhaven alternative in Fairfax County is no longer under consideration. So they had come back and asked whether, since this was a primary concern of the Architectural Review Board and maybe part of the comments that they received, whether you all still wanted to continue to be a consulting party for the project. Yes, it's no longer in Fairfax County. The project's no longer in Fairfax County. However, we're all one big system with coastal stormwater management. So,
my primary concern, and the reason I spoke out in favor of being a consulting party, was the wall they're proposing to build around New Alexandria, which is the Bellevue area. They were overly deferential to the Park Service, the federal property. They're going to put the wall just outside the federal property, and it literally would wall off that neighborhood from access to the river. Atrocious. If that's withdrawn, then my concerns are alleviated.
I would tend to.
Does Fairfax County stop at the edge of the water?
Fairfax County stops at the edge of the Park Service property. Our jurisdiction doesn't extend into Park Service property.
So, well, I guess that's my concern, is that if it's still gonna be within their view, or it's still could cut off, but it's just not Fairfax County land.
Well, to explain it briefly, there are buildings, right, and then there's a road in front of those buildings. Then there's the Park Service land starts. There's a considerable distance, 30 or 40 yards between that and the roadway, the southbound roadway of the parkway, right? They could burn that, create the height that they need and not build a wall just outside there. I mean, there's a landscape, right? There's a landscape solution you can come up with that's far less intrusive than, but we don't have any control. Yeah, but for engineers, so they don't, they say, I don't think they have money to do it. Well, yeah.
I mean, is it fun? I mean, it's funny. Yeah, I don't. They've lost one flood a number of years ago. I think they lost 270 cars. 80 houses. Not lost the house, but the first floors were flooded. Wow. And it went all the way up to the shopping center, which is what, 4 blocks. Wow. Pointed out our favorite Indian restaurant was in the basement. And that flooded out. So my favorite too. So do you think they'll they will do something?
The need is still there. All right. The need is still there. And then part of the problem is the water surges up from the south. There's a creek that comes up from the south. And the water literally that comes from when the storm surge comes upriver, makes sense. It goes right up, and so almost like if they built the berm where they're proposing to build it, that would prevent the water from draining rapidly. It seems like a bunch of engineers thought, well, that floods there. We'll just put a wall here. The problem is if the water comes down this way, water's stinky, It just
doesn't follow those neat lines.
So I will say, well, 2 comments. I know Michelle Aubrey had commented personally, I believe. She might have something to say about this, but also I'll let you know that the county will still continue to be engaged. I would like to continue to be a consulting party. Scopes change, and I want to know if it changes. So.
And then they go back to.
Yeah, right. So.
Michelle, are you okay with that?
Well, can you hear me? This is Michelle. I mean, I did send comments on the document to the Corps. I also sent separately to the Park Service because at the same time they were considering an environmental work to make changes on the roadway and the trails in the George Washington Memorial Parkway. And I thought that the 2 parties really needed to be talking to each other because they were each going down their own little road without considering what the other one was thinking or doing. It is what it looked like. And as long as the Corps has decided to remove that one proposal from its feasibility study, I mean, I personally would like to know why they removed it, if it was because of issues with the GW Parkway and the Park Service. But it really isn't important for our purposes. I don't think the ARB needs to necessarily be involved as a consulting party for if it's not affecting, this feasibility study is not affecting anything currently in Fairfax County.
Thank you, Michelle. Our next correspondence announcements is input to the county on the county's 2024 legislative program.
Yes, so that is due August 3rd, right? So if you all have any interest, burning desire to weigh in on the state legislative program in the fall. There,
State or county?
it's, well, it's the county, from the county's perspective.
Oh, okay.
It's the state legislative program. For instance, a couple of years ago, when we had what we call the proffer legislation, I know the History Commission weighed in on that, rescinding that or at least modifying it so staff's hands were not tied really we were gagged from commenting on any proffers at all. So that was a really difficult time to do development review, and it was effective to have that input. I don't know of any item that is, let's see, as impactful that you all. But I wanted to put it out there. It's a call to all BACs if you're interested in commenting.
Old business, the Fairfax Church ADA ramp project update.
Yes, so that was, again, in your packet of information. They're responding to the conditions that the Architectural Review Board put on their approval. They are in the process of evaluating the vendor bids for the archaeological data recovery work. And they're working with Amy Wells in the Fairfax County Park Authority's archaeology branch. Once that report is done, the findings will go to the Park Authority for review. So Amy's been working with them to collaborate on reviewing proposals. So yeah. And then they have 2 brick samples from a vendor, and they're going to have them build not the vendor, but the construction. They're going to have them build a wall, a sample wall, and they've offered to show the panels to the ARB if you're interested. So that's a question, I assume. And then they also they're proposing quartzite as a material rather than sandstone for the rocks. So I don't know if you all had an opportunity to read the letter, but they're requesting review and comment. And I don't know if you'd like to see those materials back here.
Anyone have thoughts about whether we want to see those materials?
If they're building a sample wall, 3 of the ARB members are within
You could just go do.
15-minute drive of that, and we could just go look at it.
Okay,
Rather than have it load stuff here.
sure.
It might be best to see it in the context of what it will be adjacent to.
Yeah. Is that acceptable to everybody?
Does everybody mean the 3 members who are 15 minutes away?
And Michelle.
Yes, I'm kidding.
Michelle's still
Absolutely acceptable.
You said yes. Just let us know when the sample wall's ready.
Okay, I'll coordinate. And then I think,
Do we have to only go in pairs? We can't go all 3?
I don't think you can go, well, we can, no, you can go, but we just have to advertise it as a public meeting.
What if you guys don't coordinate at all, but you just happen to show up?
Happen to show up.
Well, what stays in the car?
That's the best legal advice I have for you.
Just don't take a photograph.
Yeah. No Facebook or
Are we
Instagram.
concerned about the stone?
Yeah, that was
Yeah, it
the,
sounds weird to me.
Quartzite said sandstone. It's a more, it's a more durable material.
Quartzite.
Yeah, it's white.
Is that something that they have samples of on site when they have this? Is that?
we could ask, we could see if they could get one, yeah, so you all could look at it.
On site.
Yeah.
When the brick wall is done.
Yeah, it's like the
Quartzite's
quiet stone.
natural stone. It's quartz got all ground up, it got smushed back together, it became quartzite.
Okay, so it is a natural.
It's a natural stone.
It's a natural stone, but it has binders to hold it together, like a glue to hold it together.
From man-made binders, right?
A natural quartzite doesn't, pressure makes it.
Well,
Tell
see what it
them,
looks like,
Michelle,
I guess.
I'm right,
You guys tell us.
archaeologists make points out of it. I mean, it made
So
there.
you mine quartzite straight?
I believe so.
Okay.
That's what my archaeology experience tells me.
Well, you guys, pardon my ignorance, I wasn't, here.
Well, they're
So-
proposing sandstone, so they're already way more durable material than the quiet stone.
Anything's more durable
Yeah.
than the quiet.
They're actually proposing quartzite, John. I think that's the question is that do you all think that
It depends on the
Yeah.
the quality of the stone.
Yeah.
It's highly reflective.
Yeah.
Because it's got mica in it, it's kind of like, you don't want it to look a little sparkly.
But they are proposing it in the central flat area and lining the sandstone
Right.
around
Yeah.
the perimeter. So visually, as you approach, this question is why you go up and down. How important is that appearance?
so
Well, we're
they're
not talking about a capstone on the.
Maybe
yeah.
maybe I'd recommend, as long as our volunteers feel okay, going to look at the brick wall and then if they have the quartzite available.
Yes.
And then if they feel that either there's a problem or they're unsure, and then maybe we could ask them to come in to have us look at it as a board. It's probably the best solution I can think of.
Okay.
Cool. New business, the Forestville Schoolhouse Great Falls Post Office potential workshop session.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of give you all a heads up that I was contacted by the Friends of the Forestville Schoolhouse Grange. And they are, I think they thought they had to come to the Architecture Review Board, but you all don't have, I couldn't find an easement or a proffer or anything that would send them here. So I said that wasn't a requirement, but they'd like to come in for a workshop to get your input. They're installing a HVAC system, excuse me, in the schoolhouse, and they're interested in getting your guidance.
Consultants. That's what they're doing.
Is it internal? No, is it the interior guys?
I would-
Or would I would imagine just be your basic.
Right.
Here's the word.
So I don't think it,
Part of that place is it's mostly one big room. And so running ducts is, if you can't do it underneath or through the attic, then you have some issues. But I don't know what they're proposing or how it might.
so I think that's exactly that. Yes, yes, that's exactly the point. Yeah, so I think they're looking for some, yes, free.
Yeah, we don't do interiors.
It's not on the Fairfax County inventory?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's on. It's,
I'm
yeah.
pulling it up. I'll share it.
If they're putting ducts on the inside, but no, it
And we
doesn't
have
the
no
outside.
jurisdiction.
We have
Well,
no jurisdiction.
It's not purview. You don't have any jurisdiction at all. They're just,
Right. but
yeah.
We have even less.
I know,
We have a lot on our.
I-
We take-
Maybe we could do it in August.
Now you're talking.
That's about what we have time for, based on what I think is coming.
I'll share the screen.
They're all affluent trades. They can afford to hire somebody.
That's it.
That's not the building I was thinking. I was thinking the other school. Grange.
The Grange, yeah. I think it's one organization, but this is the,
It's on this, it's all lumped together.
yeah.
I leave it up to you all.
Well, I take it to put the air handler, the compressor on the outside.
I saw no plan. Got an email, just,
Yeah, I put window air conditioner.
Built in 1889 as a one-room school, but in 1911 doubled in size when another schoolhouse was moved to that.
It's got two different structural systems, probably the joists run perpendicular.
Oh.
Putting ducts in is gonna be a lot of fun.
You know what they did? They put a drop ceiling. Just. And.
I don't know if I'm hearing a lot of.
Looking to reach the punch drunk.
Right, yeah, right.
Well, I mean, these are nice people. I think they probably run the county payroll.
That once you have staff,
I know.
This is where staff could be helpful.
Or
I know.
could we even compromise if they have some, I don't know if they have a proposal or drawings of what they want to do, and maybe you could email that to us and we could look at that or something? Maybe?
Just rather than come in,
Rather than
right,
come
yeah,
in.
we get it on the agenda, but just to, yeah,
Quick discussion.
Something like that.
sure, that would be,
That's my idea. I'm not
Solution.
trying to take over.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
The key thing is to avoid tragedies.
Right, I feel, I would feel better than having some consultation, personally. It is on the inventory. I think it might be on the National Register. County resource,
National, Virginia, and county, all three. That listed National Register, August 11, 2004.
Let's
okay,
go with that.
I think that's a solution, yeah,
Okay.
thank you, nice.
Yeah. Any other new business?
One thing.
Mr. Burns.
Since we have a Frank Lloyd Wright house in one of our historic Riverway districts, today is June 8th, is Frank Lloyd Wright's birthday.
Oh.
I think we should acknowledge that, and I believe, Michelle, is it your husband at the Negroponte art studio, explaining Wright to people who are exhibiting art of Frank Lloyd Wright buildings?
Yes, that was this evening. He was over there. Yeah.
Thank you for coming to our meeting instead of going to that one.
I know, I probably could have had cake and wine.
I don't know if I'll call this new business, but while we're all together, I think there's an item that will come back on our agenda next month. You know, Mr. Burns excused himself from it, and I think Mr. Kalinsky may have to excuse himself from it.
Yeah.
And I believe that our chairman may be absent again next meeting, so we will be very close to a quorum issue, so if everybody can.
Is that next week?
The next meeting in July. So if everybody feels like they could be here, that would be helpful so that we don't have a quorum issue.
Oh, if we don't, we get 2 months off.
That's right, yeah. And you're already getting August off, so come on.
In the meantime, the applicant bootleg an addition in this house.
Right, yeah, right. Any other new business?
Well, can I just throw out there, I've signed up for a webinar for best practices for an effective local preservation commission. And Denise, appreciate you sent it out a couple times. I'd already signed up, but every time I see it, I realize that's a perfect one for all of us, because maybe we can use that knowledge to help us be more effective, and whether it's short, how we talk to people, or however we do things.
It's a webinar, right?
Yes,
It's an
yes,
hour and a half
yeah.
long. It's a longer one.
What is it?
June 29th. You got plenty of time.
So I will say that I have brought up the need for some sort of confirmation, post plans, post, building permit, some method that to confirm that what is built is what was approved. And I believe we are going to be, hopefully with new staff, we will be looking at best practices in the industry to get something in place. First, we're going to do staff reports. First, we're going to do this design guidelines. Then we're going to do staff reports. Then we're going to look at this.
You need to get someone on the county building inspection staff who's knowledgeable about historic buildings, and in particular, the existing, international existing building codes.
Or we need to get somebody on staff. Where that place is, I'm not, but yes, we will be, I think something like that. Yeah.
But the final inspections, the code guys, unless you have enough staff to send someone from the ARB or your county staff, we don't have.
Right. Staffing's the staffing.
Water as fast as you can.
I'm not even treading water, John. I'm not. I give. I'm not even gonna say that.
Well, we appreciate you, Denise.
Thank you.
Everything that you're doing. Thank you.
Thanks.
I would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, all those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. We're off the record.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. And while we were sitting here,